I've been really pondering this idea of obedience and like discerning the voice of God in our lives. More specifically, the whole concept of like asking for confirmation from Him before going out to do anything. I remember having friends when I was like 17 or so. I remember it always being a thing of like, God, should I go to this church service? Should I wear this bracelet, take off my watch, hang out with this person? I remember being so terrified and feeling like I was drowning because there were so many things that I wasn't crystal clear of God's opinion on. How many different reasons could there possibly be for Him to not want me to do something? Reasons that I'm not even aware of because His knowledge is far too high for me. I felt like because I never knew, I never had a fair chance of being obedient to Him. I became super afraid to do things, hanging out with my family, eating, getting ice cream, going to the park, very small things that I never even paid attention to previously. All of a sudden, every small moment felt like life or death. And for some reason today, it's just kind of been sitting on my heart. I think the first thing I want to say is we have to come to a point where we are honest about where our hearts are. That comes down to where are we operating from? Childlike faith or fear? That can be really hard in a culture that constantly preaches obedience no matter what your feelings are. You can wind up constantly doing things that might look holy or righteous, obedient, but it's really not pleasing to God at all because it's coming from a place of insecurity. It's coming from a lie that says, if I don't get these things right, I am going to be discarded. It comes from a lie that says, God can't work even if I make a mistake. It's coming from a need for control. It comes from a belief system that says I constantly have to be doing something in order to maintain this relationship with God. You can't love and fear something at the same time. It's impossible. Perfect love casts out all fear. They don't coexist. If we are called to do everything out of love, we are also called to do everything from a place of security. And if that's the case, is it possible that God never even cared about how accurate we got things to begin with and cared more about the health of the root from which these things were coming from? If those who love Him then obey Him, is it possible that cultivating love is His first priority with us and not obedience? Is it possible that we can breathe knowing we can walk around in autonomy, doing things that may or may not even be beneficial in the long run, but because it was done from a childlike faith, it wasn't sin? Is it possible that by simply seeking to know Him and dying so that He can live within you, that the natural byproduct is His voice coming out of your mouth, His actions coming from your hands, and His way of life coming from your life? That's where obedience is found, because performance for Him implies that there's still some sort of approval to be gained. There's a difference between ambition and anxiety. We know that everything that is not done out of faith is sin. Sin simply just being a territory that God never called us to be in, because it puts our eyes back on us when they were called to be on Jesus, because Jesus satisfied everything in us already and nothing is lacking. Insecurity suggests a lack. We were never called to be in a territory where we need 100% certainty on everything we do. If we had the certainty, then faith would not be necessary. Faith always involves a risk. It is the substance of things unseen. You can't see them. They're not always tangible, but faith is the substance, the proof that it's there. It felt risky for me to believe that God isn't constantly monitoring my every move, telling me things to do. It felt risky to trust that nothing was wrong with me because I wasn't receiving an answer on every single little thing that I wanted an answer on. But now it makes sense to me because I know that there's no way God would enable and entertain a cycle where I was so insecure I needed His constant stamp of approval to even exist. He would never fuel that state of unbelief in His finished work on the cross that said, hey, I've loved you and approved of you this entire time. He would never endorse a habit that would have me relying on signs and wonders and confirmation as opposed to relying on Him. I'm just gonna say it one more time because I feel like it's really important. Love and fear do not coexist. I'm going to sleep now. Love y'all.